Welcome back to the Sex After Kids podcast, my friends. This episode is a special episode for my higher libido partners who also identify as men. Through the launch of the Naked Fun Comeback, many of you are ready to do this work, are ready to invite help into your marriage, but you are either petrified of bringing this up to your partner or they are a hard no. So today's episode is for you. I've developed something very special for you. It's called The First Move. It's a 6-week men's only group coaching program, July through September, where we are going to work on the things that you can do to create a different conversation and open the door in a different way to this work in your relationship. So if any part of this episode is resonating, find the link in the show notes, DM me wherever, and let's talk about you stepping into that program. Because if it's feeling like joining the Naked Fun Comeback is a no-go, waiting another year for things to magically get better does not need to be your solution. So let's get into this week's episode. I want to talk about the 4 biggest, not all the traps, but the 4 biggest traps that I see higher libido men fall into around having this conversation in their relationship that keeps things stuck. And trap number 1 is the Peacekeeper Trap. You are doing everything in your relationship, or maybe what feels like everything, and it's making things worse. This has a little bit of the happy wife, happy life vibes, okay? So often when I'm talking to guys, their wife is in perimenopause or in some big health piece, or maybe this is even when your babies are really little. Your partner's hormones are all over the place. She's not herself. You both know it. You're stepping up. You're doing the cooking. You're doing the cleaning. You are doing everything to get her out of the house, to get her doing the things that fill her up, seeing friends, all the things. You are bending over backwards, essentially. And then when she blows up at you at nothing or at everything, you also are like absorbing that. You're going quiet, you're disappearing a little, you're avoiding, you want to avoid making it worse, right? Because you love her. And you've heard it 1,000 times. Happy wife, happy life. Just do whatever she asks. But that looks like you making yourself smaller, you not complaining, you not asking for anything, you not taking care of yourself because there's no bandwidth left, you essentially becoming invisible, right? You have decided that the most loving thing that you can do is take up less space and essentially disappear. Why is that not working for you? 3 things, in my view, are happening all at once, and none of them are, of course, what you intended. The first is that even though it looks like you're being supportive, it can also make her feel managed. It can feel like you're throwing a lot of solutions at her, which makes her feel like she's a project that needs to be fixed. The second is that when you disappear, you become someone who's not trustworthy. You become someone who's not there, who's not supporting, even though you feel like the best thing to do is go play your golf game, go get out of the way, essentially. And the last piece is when you don't respect yourself because you let her blow her shit day all over you, she starts losing respect for you too. Okay. And attraction, desire, the things that build interdependent, healthy relationship between 2 people die when we are working so hard to keep the peace. So here's the thing that sounds backwards until you see it, right? Conflict done well is not the enemy of intimacy. It is the doorway to it. You wouldn't expect the man who holds his ground to be the one she feels closest to. You'd expect the one who never pushes back, who keeps everything smooth, the good guy, that guy to win, right? Except that he doesn't. Deep down, and I've been your fucking wife, okay? She does not want a man who disappears. She wants a man who stays fully present, fully himself, and knows how to navigate hard moments without shutting down or blowing up. Real connection, real growth, real love does not come from avoiding conflict. It comes from knowing how to do conflict well. And I know so many of you are like, well, won't things get worse before they get better? Am I going to like poke the bear if I sign up for this program, if I make the first move? And I'm going to be honest, like, yeah, probably briefly. Things getting louder for a minute is very different, though, from things getting worse, right? You have been keeping a lid on a pot that has been simmering. Taking the lid off isn't the problem. It's actually the only way to let the steam out that's underneath. So you can understand all of this right now and still not know how to stay in the room without shutting down or escalating. And I just need you to know that that is not a character flaw, okay? That is a skill set that you were never taught. And that's exactly what we want to work on. And honestly, the biggest changes in my relationship came when my husband did de escalation training through his work, where he learned how to stay present in conflict with really challenging types of people. Trap number 2 is the mental load. Okay. You've heard about it. You think you're working on it, but I guarantee you have some blind spots and you are not doing this perfectly or well enough yet. Right? You've listened to the podcast, you've read the articles, you are doing more things around the house. You're probably telling me that you're doing a pretty good job of doing your fair share. And you might actually be doing too much. Go back to trap number 1, right? But a lot of you have taken on a few things and you are helping still, but you're still waiting to be told, or you're asking 5 million tasks. You'll be like, I'm on dinner tonight, but what do you want? Do you want to order takeout or do you want to order in? What should I make? You're still asking a million questions. She's still actually the household manager. So nothing has fully actually come off of her plate, which means she's exhausted in a way that she can't explain. And you are confused because you feel like you are trying and it's still not landing, right? So the difference here is that helping with tasks is not the same as fully carrying the load, right? And we get into this, right? The load is the invisible part. It's the anticipation. It's what we call the conceptualization and planning behind a task, not just the execution of it. Okay. The other piece here is that she can tell when you're doing more to get laid. Okay. That is a vibe. Doing the dishes with an agenda is not the same as doing the dishes because you are a full partner. She can spot the difference from across the room. And when she spots it, her walls are going to go up, not down. You would not think that who remembers to book dentist appointments has anything to do with whether or not she wants to have sex with you. You might have some inkling if you've spent any time on the internet, but these two things are not unrelated, right? Her nervous system is running a constant background check. Am I safe to let go here? Do I have a real teammate or do I have another person to manage? When the answer is yes, when she genuinely feels like you've got your half of the map and she doesn't have to double check your work, her nervous system can actually downgrade from high alert. And that shifts everything because hard conversations are easier when she's not in high alert. Repair is easier. Sex is easier. Everything is easier when she is not on high alert, right? Desire doesn't live in a nervous system that is still running triage. It lives in one that finally feels like it can exhale. So the dentist appointment is foreplay. And of course, I'm only half joking, right? So knowing about the mental load does not tell you which domain to own or what consistency actually looks like in practice or how to have the direct conversation that gets you both on the same map. That's the work, and that's what we do together in my program, The First Move. Okay, 2 more traps to go. Trap number 3 is the vulnerability deficit. You are having the conversation, but she is still not hearing you. So the scenario here, and this comes from so close to my heart, when I am on calls with you lovely, lovely gents, and you are in tears about how lonely you are in your relationship. And you've tried to tell her you miss her, that you want to feel close. And maybe you've had the conversation 5 times or 10, and it keeps landing as, I need you to fuck me more. Okay. It's all she can hear is pressure and guilt and you trying to fix her. And when I get past the surface and when I see how genuinely lonely you are, how heartbroken you are, watching your partner be so outside of themselves, so depleted, so angry, when I see how much you're craving a win would just be her touching you for 2 seconds, there is a genuine vulnerability there. But when I ask you if you've said it like that to your partner, the answer is almost always no. Okay. So part of what we need to do in this conversation is have it in a way you have not had it before. And that means going deeper. being more vulnerable. There is a difference between expressing what you want and sharing what you actually feel. I miss you. I want to feel close again sounds vulnerable, but she hears it as a request, as a direction towards her doing something differently. Real vulnerability doesn't have a direction, it's just true. I feel lonely and I don't know what to do about that. That version can create more safety instead of triggering defense. The other piece, and I learned this over and over again in my nonviolent communication, is that sometimes when we are hurting, we are so focused on being heard that we are not fully hearing our partner. We have not heard what is underneath their no, whether it's their exhaustion or their shutdown or other things. And when that's happening, essentially, they are not feeling seen and we are not feeling seen. And both of you are begging to be seen, and somebody needs to go first to really see the other person to crack things open. So you wouldn't think that getting better at listening without fixing and defending would make her more likely to hear you. It sounds backwards, but when she feels truly heard, what's underneath her words, not just on the surface, her nervous system feels seen and something can crack in that. Her defenses will come down and the space opens up for you two to have a truly genuine conversation about moving forward rather than spiraling in defensiveness. The art of listening is not a consolation prize for not being heard. It is the key. So you can know that you need to be more vulnerable and more present as a listener, but still have no idea how to actually do those things. What words to say, when to pause, when to invite to hear, right? And again, that's not a personal failing. These are skills. This all comes back to sex and intimacy being a skill set you were not taught, especially as a man. You were taught to be stoic. You were taught to keep it all bottled up. You were taught to be right all the time, to lead, right? And this is a different version of what leadership looks like that we're inviting you to. Trap number 4, last one, is the emotional bleed. And this is the situation where you are holding on to your feels because you don't want to pressure her and you don't want to burden her with your problems. But instead, it's spitting out of you anyway. So it might not be coming out as words, but it's coming out as you rolling over, going quiet, leaving the room, being distant, avoiding the house, even huffing, or maybe even making a scene. It can be either of those things, right? But what I'm speaking about a little bit is when you're walking around clearly brewing with something, whether it's about her or not, and you're not saying the words out loud because you don't want to create pressure for her. She is getting annoyed because she's reading your energy and going like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Just say it. Or she's making assumptions about what it is, which can spiral the repeat pattern of she's assuming you're pissed about sex, which maybe you are, right? So when we're in this catch-22 of should I be saying it and burdening her with my feels and pressuring her, or should I just hold it in? And the answer is kind of a both and or the middle way, right? And the hint is in this other piece, which is that a lot of you, whether you realize it or not, are using sex as a stress reliever. Okay. It's a place that you go when you feel sad and when you feel stressed and when you feel the heaviness of the world and you want the release that sex gives you. The problem with that, my friends, is that sex becomes a soother. Okay. She becomes your mama who's placating your emotions. And that means sex is a thing she does for you. It means sex is a chore because it's a job she does to take care of your emotional needs. And sex no longer is a place you both go to enjoy each other. And that's kind of the hard crux of it, right? When the internet sometimes says you're looking for your mama, that's what we're talking about. It's like you're looking for somebody to take care of your feelings for you. And she can't be your caretaker and feel wanted and desired by you at the same time. So it might be hard, right? We wouldn't think that handling our own emotional world quietly without making it her problem would be one of the most attractive things we can do. And I think the conundrum here is you get told to open up, right? Open up, share more, open up, share more. Or you get told, don't share, don't pressure her. And the answer is neither. It's fucking deal with it like a grown ass man, okay? And she needs to deal with her own shit like a grown ass woman too. And I guess what I want to clarify here is, ladies, especially if you're listening, we have our own traps and our own bullshit, okay? We pick up emotions and feelings that are not ours to pick up. We overdo on the mental load without actually letting go of things. We have our own shit here, okay? I'm just focused on the traps that our high libido men are caught in. So do you want to know the sexiest fucking thing my husband honestly ever did in our relationship? Two of them. Two keystone moments I can remember. One of them relates to the Peacekeeper Trap, and one of them relates to this trap. The first is we were getting married. I desperately wanted a baby immediately and a new house immediately. And my husband was like, fuck no, it's one or the other. And I was so mad at him about this. I felt like he was like clipping my wings and being risk averse and all of the things. And we were going around and around on this conversation. And as a type A independent woman, everything I conveyed was like, I just want you to fucking submit to me. I just want you to do what I've asked you to do. And when he didn't, I was annoyed, but it was also fucking sexy that he was like, this is my line and I'm holding it. And whenever he does that, that's what brings out this you're a you and I'm a me difference there. There's otherness there that creates erotic tension. The second is that for the longest time, my partner would walk around in his feels and he wouldn't deal with it. He didn't know how to deal with it. And I'm not throwing shade here because I am not great at dealing with my emotions either. Okay. The sexiest thing ever. I think my husband was probably spiraling for about a week. And then he sent me a text and he was like, hey, I know I've been spiraling on whatever. I've set up some therapy appointments. I'm going to start working out every day again because I know that's what works for me. And I'm going to start my journaling. And the bottom line here was, I recognize I'm having an emotional mess. I don't need to tell you what it's about. I don't need to make you my therapist. I don't need to make you fix this. I know how to deal with this. I know my coping mechanisms that are healthy and useful and productive. And I am going to put my self-rescue plan in place. Does that mean we never talk about things with our partner? No. I want to hear about my partner's bad day and about the things that he thinks about and all that stuff. And also, I have compassion fatigue for his career exploration. I just don't care to listen to him process about what he wants to do with his life that much anymore. I love you, babe. Okay. And he doesn't have things that he doesn't want to hear so much about me anymore either, right? The bottom line here was the leadership that he showed in both situations, where he knew his line, he knew himself, he knew his feels, he knew how to deal, which meant I didn't have to do those things for him. Okay. The bottom line across all of these traps is personal leadership. That is what creates attraction. That is what creates the conditions in your marriage for things to change. This is not a one-sided street. I want personal leadership for you both. The opportunity you have is to be the one who goes first. Okay. Here's the deal though, right? Knowing you're bleeding doesn't stop the bleed. And knowing you should handle your emotional world still doesn't tell you how, especially if the tools that you were given growing up were silence, distraction, or waiting for it to pass. And again, that is what we build in the first move. Real tools that fit how you actually function, not always journaling prompts, not therapy speak, things that actually work for men. So there you have it, my friends. 4 patterns. There are more, of course. 4 things I want you to look at, right? And of course, like I said, these all come back to personal leadership. The Peacekeeper Trap, right? This isn't about her. It's about you erasing yourself. The mental load gap, that's about you stepping into ownership. The vulnerability deficit, that's about you learning how to show up honestly and actually hear her. And the emotional bleed is about you taking responsibility for your own inner world. We're going to take the spotlight, all that energy you've been driving at her and what she needs to change and what she needs to shift, and we're going to turn it back on you, because the only thing you can control is yourself. The thread running through all of this is personal leadership, not dominance, not control, leadership of yourself. Knowing who you are, knowing what you feel, knowing what you need, and knowing how to show up with all of that without making it her problem to manage. That is what changes the dynamic. that is what opens the door to the next level of working together as a team to problem solve your intimacy. Because here's what I've seen happen when a man does this work, really does it, right? She's going to notice, not because he told her that he was working on himself, but because she can feel the difference in the room. And because you are stepping out of the patterns that you guys have established together. When you change the steps, she can't follow the dance anymore. Okay. Our goal here is to make the conversation feel possible. It's to feel like the doors open even just a crack, to feel like this conversation can even be broached. You cannot drag her through the door, but you can become the man that she wants to open it for. So if this is resonating, my friends, if you were like, yes, that is me, I need to fix one or all of these things, then I want you to join the first move. Okay. It is built for men to address these exact 4 traps over 6 weeks, July through September, a small group of around 8 men, because we're going to do the work deeply. And I need you to show up genuinely ready to make these changes. We're going to dismantle these 4 patterns in your actual life. Not theory, not homework you take home to her, but work you do for yourself that changes how you show up. We're going to work on what it looks like to actually stay in the room, regulated, grounded, and present instead of disappearing or escalating. We're going to break down mental load so that you can show up to the conversation differently, so that you can start taking things on differently and soothe her nervous system so there's actually room for these conversations. We're going to practice real vulnerability, what it sounds like, what it feels like in your body, and how to create the kinds of conversations that open something instead of closing them. And we're going to give you real tools for your own emotional world so that it stops bleeding into the room without your permission. This is the first time that I am running this group. I have put it together because I have probably had about 35 or more, I'm going to say 50 or more conversations with men over the last 6 months. And this is the need. That means 2 things. Okay. The investment is lower than will ever be. Right now it's $12.99 Canadian. And you will also have more direct access to me than in future cohorts. Payment plans are a thing. Find me in the DMs or click the link below to get more info. If you decide down the road that you become ready to join the couples program, I will also apply part of your payment as credit towards the Naked Fun comeback. So there is no lose here, okay? This program is not a consolation prize for the couples program not being available to you guys yet. It is the foundation that makes the couples program actually work. The men who show up to do this, who take the first move seriously, are the ones whose partner notice that something has shifted, and you're going to step into the couples work both more ready to join instead of dragging her into it. And that is the payoff of this work. So if those 4 patterns are feeling uncomfortably familiar, if you found yourself thinking, how does she know? It's not a coincidence. This is your answer. The link is in the show notes, and I will see you there.